Well, by now you're caught up to chapter 2.3, and we are going to start looking at chemical changes to substances. And to do that, we're going to take a look first at a little reminder of what a physical change is. A physical change alters the form of a substance, but it does not change into another substance. So if you melted a rock, it's still a rock. It's just melted in a new shape, like an ice cube is a rock. You could cut paper, but that paper would still be paper. No matter how many pieces you cut it up into, it would still all be paper. You sharpen the scissors, you still have a scissors, and the metal filings are still metal. You didn't change them into something different. So those are all examples of a physical change. It is exactly the same things it started as, but it might be in a different shape, or it might be in a different state. It might be a solid, a liquid, or a gas, where it might have been something else before. When we look at chemical changes, we're going to look for something a little bit different. A chemical change makes a new substance or substances that have very different physical properties than the original substance had. Physical properties, as you remember, are things like hardness, viscosity. They could be the streak or the other things we looked at in the mineralogy lab in 8th grade. This original substance is going to be gone, and you're not really going to be able to get it back. And in the picture you will look at, and you might recognize that is a book burning. This book is a reference to a book called Fahrenheit 451. 451 is the temperature at which paper combusts and turns into, or starts on fire, and ceases to be paper anymore. That is one way that you can undergo a chemical change. There are 5 observations that we can take a look for to see if a chemical change took place. I believe your book reference is 4, so we're going to add one more. The first one, in this beautiful scene of a Minnesota fall, is color change. All of those leaves changing from green to crimson and gold and orange are all indications that the chemicals inside those leaves are changing, and therefore the leaves are undergoing a chemical change. Chemical change doesn't happen in just leaves. It could happen in other substances too, that would have the chemicals change into something different. The formation of a precipitate. That is a cloudy solid that would form at the bottom of a clear liquid. A lot of things that you could mix together if you let them sit long enough would settle out into the 2 different layers. So you may have had a solution that may have formed what looked like a precipitate where it just might have been a layer, but this is actually a chemical change in which a precipitate is actually a different substance that is made from the reaction that takes place inside of the reaction. Production of a gas. The best way to do this, Coca-Cola or Diet Coke and Mentos. You drop those Mentos in and you start a reaction happening and you create all kinds of gas that goes shooting out the top of the bottle. So what starts out as Coke ends up as a little bit of Coke left in the bottom, but mostly shoots out in the form of Coke and gas, carbon dioxide in this case. Bubbles are a good indication of gas. Temperature change. The ice packs that turn instantly cold are a great example, or the heat packs that you can use in the winter, where you have this little thing and you crunch it, and for some reason after you crunch it, it instantly becomes cold or it instantly becomes hot. It becomes endothermic, or it becomes exothermic. Endothermic things, remember, take in heat. Exothermic things give off heat. And so there's a chemical change that happens because there's another substance inside, and that's why you have to squeeze it between your hands and break the inner pouch. You're releasing a chemical that's going to interact with the one in the outside pouch, and they are going to make a chemical reaction. And that temperature change that you feel as that ice pack is an indication that that has happened. With a hot pack, the same thing. And then one that is a little bit less specific is just a change in the characteristic property, a change in an odor or a change in how something glows, like a glow stick, or a change in the hardness or change in the density would all indicate a chemical change, because remember, those are all physical properties that we can use to identify a substance. So if it has changed the hardness or if it has changed in density, then it can't be the same thing it was, because it wouldn't change density. So if the density of a starburst suddenly went to 10 grams per centimeter cubed, then it wouldn't actually be a starburst anymore, and it would be your job to figure out what happened to it and what it became. So, to wrap it up, when we are doing labs and we're looking for things that we want to see if there's a chemical or a physical change, we want to look for these items. We want to look for gas bubbles. We want to look for a substance that's there at the end that wasn't there at the beginning. We want to look for a change in color. We want to look for things that changed that are more than just cutting the paper in half or melting something down. So hopefully this was helpful. Be sure to ask questions if there are things you don't understand. Have a great night. Thanks.